Go to the computer. Then he goes to the QuickTime player, but the recording thing is in the way.
Need more screens, IMO.
Everyone. What do you mean, everyone?
Welcome to Everyone Racers.
It's a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture.
It doesn't matter what kind of limit champ
Or lucky track dog league you run.
SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate.
as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself.
Join us each week for tech discussions,
Tips, tricks, as well as news and notes from the world of amateur endurance racing.
And whether it's on the spot,
hella sweet.
Or we're lucky enough,
and Chrissy,
and Chrissy,
I give you just the tip.
we're sure you'll giggle a little.
and learn even less.
Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
And I'm mental.
And we are
Hi.
Everyone Racers.
I'm
Oh,
very
are you?
proud that 2 out of the 3 of those remixes, when you and I jump up and down at New Hampshire, it's synced with the beat.
Oh, good.
Good for you. You did a good job.
So
What are
welcome to a Sync to the Beat American Motors Gen 2 V8 episode of our podcast. This is episode 343. A new generation AMC V8 came out in 1966 as a 290 cubic inch, but the next year it debuted with an increased bore and stroke to make the 343 cubic inch version. It made 235 horsepower with the optional 4-valve carburetor. It was good for 280 horsepower and 365 foot-pounds of torque, and that is gross rating. So it's amazing how far we've come. Hey, if you're not rolling in your late 60s AMX 343, we're not surprised because
not?
there are less than 3,000 of those. We had the 343s. It's also worth noting 2024 is the 7th anniversary of the founding of American Motors. Why do you care? There's a name that AMC penalty in Lemons, so stay out of the penalty box.
It's one of my favorites. It's got all of the faces of all the AMCs, and they have to get 10 right before they're allowed to go back out.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeesh.
And basically, they
Who else-
always just say AMX until they get that one. And then
Yeah.
they only know like 2 other AMCs.
Hornet, Rambler. Yeah. Right. Well, aside from memorizing your AMCs, what else have you been working on, Mental?
So out in Oklahoma, meeting up with some old friends. If you were following along on the Instagram adventure, I acquired a truck this weekend. I am doing some 1 in, 1 out kind of project shuffling. So I'm getting rid of some projects to make room for some other projects. So would anybody listening to the show like a battle proven, multiple award winning, almost race ready Corey Dickman built 1976 Oldsmobile Omega? Anyone? Okay. How about a 2012 Kawasaki Terry-X side by side? Deep discounts for listeners. Get a hold of us. Let's make a deal.
Wow.
I mean, the Omega got held up by being on the Moon trailer for quite a long time.
It did.
Without a
It
doubt.
did. Yes. But it's still a Corey Dickman built, like that cage will sail through tech.
Now that has no engine in it, right?
Oh, no, it does. That is a
does?
5.3.
What did he take off that was good? It was
The suspension. The
Okay.
suspension and the brakes that all went
So
to
does
the,
it not have suspension?
it has the original suspension,
Okay.
like the IOE winning suspension, one might say. And it's got a turbo 350 that only has 2 gears. So you'll want to look into that.
You only
You
need
really only
2?
need 1 gear
Oh,
of a
yeah,
turbo
right?
350. I mean, put it in third and you're good, right?
That's the one that's missing.
Oh.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Well.
That's kind of important. Sometimes you can
Yeah.
use just 4th though.
Except it doesn't have fourth. It's a
I think I'm
3-speed
sorry, I said 3rd.
automatic.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
You can use 4th. It's fine.
Yep.
Oh, anyway. Okay. Cool. Get in touch with Mental if you want any of his junk.
And
There you
yeah,
go.
and I also posted up that what is a screaming deal for a Lexus LS430 from the same person I got the truck from.
They sell them
And
there
when I
for-
say screaming deal, I mean like make him an insulting offer.
Hmm.
Cool.
You want more crap and you live near Oklahoma? That sounds like a great
It
plan,
runs and
too.
drives. Fly in, replace 1 wheel, you're good to go. The air conditioner works. It's got massaging back seats.
Ooh.
It's fantastic. It
Then
just
you
looks ugly.
either sit in the back or bring friends.
Great
Yep.
road trip, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds great. A chauffeur.
See, this is apropos of later in our show. I think.
Yes, good. Let's talk about this later. Anyway,
Yeah. Chrissy, what have you been working
I
on?
didn't do much car work. I hosted a rockin' Mother's Day brunch. We cooked all day on Saturday. I cooked all day on Saturday, and then we hosted on Sunday. And then we're doing some planning for an upcoming trip. But Chris did a whole lot of car work while I was in the kitchen. What were you up to?
The Mazda's all fixed now,
Yes.
except I need to put one last bit of vinyl on the front bumper, but I haven't cut it yet.
And I'm not done with this, but again, I am sorry. Thank you.
Yep, it's all done. If you look real close, the paint on the bumper isn't perfect. It's definitely a slightly different shade of white than the original because it's not pearlescent, but damn, from 10 feet away, it looks perfectly fine. So we're going to
Yeah.
call that good.
You guys pass
Um,
people so fast, no one will ever notice.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's all done. It's structurally sound, which is important. And the ducting in the air in the front end is improved
So
actually now,
much better.
which is nice. That's it's cleaned and it's even in the trailer. Okay, cool.
Yay.
I've been working on the front bumper and grill. I've been polishing those up. I have learned a pretty decent way to bring some older chrome back to really lovely luster is glass cleaner with triple aught extra fine steel wool. That's your first round. Get it clean, get the stuff scraped off. Wipe it clean with a towel. And then I've got some Chemical Guys heavy metal polish that it's on a series of cotton things that go in the end of a drill and use that and then wipe it off with a microfiber cloth. And I am really impressed with how this chrome is coming back compared to how it looked, which is really nice. Also working on aligning the front bumper. It has been crooked for as long as I can remember and that angled down very obviously. It's not how it's supposed to be. So I've spent way more time than I would like to have figuring this out. I think I've got it. It's most of the way on right now and most of the way straight. It just required porta powers and vices and hammers and long pieces of pipe and levels. And but it seems to be better, much better now. So that's nice. And we washed most of the cars the other day. It was been necessitated by needing to wash the Mazda, and the Mercedes and Porsche were in the way. So will they get washed
And
too?
also the Porsche looked like it came out of a bog. So it sat under some pollen rain, you know, and I like Chris was like, we should wash that. I walked away from it the one day and I was like, oh goodness, that's not great. So yes.
It helps with the
but
Porsche is really little. It's easy to wash. Doesn't take very long.
all is well.
Yeah, that's about it.
Great.
Need to switch cars, get the Civic back out, keep doing what I can. So I have to eventually. The MG is probably not going to get finished, and it's going to go back away because I'd like to drive the NSX someday. That'd be nice. Yeah. Oh well. Anyway.
Oh well. Okay, it's news and notes time. News and notes. This is one of this one is showing up all over the place, the interwebs. But Tim Berg got it to us last week, so we'll talk about it. Logan Carter at Jalopnik has a story of a Hertz customer that was charged $277 for a fill up on a Tesla. Hertz exclusive President Circle member Joshua Lee selected the skip the pump and save time option on his LA car reservation, but he was given a Tesla Model 3 and he returned the EV with the same charge that it was delivered with. Despite this, as the time of the article, Hertz would not refund the gas fee, claiming the service was provided. As Logan noted in the article, even if Lee had rented a gas car, returned it on empty, the Hertz was charging $7 per gallon to refuel their cars. $277 worth of gas would have been nearly 40 gallons. For reference, the largest fuel cell permitted in Lemons is 22 gallons. Do you have a hot news tip? Email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com and we might talk about it.
Hertz. What are they doing?
Hertz.
Seriously,
Dumb.
Yeah, right. And
I mean, they're the ones that were suing people for like not for doing weird for no reason
or for stealing cars that they'd already returned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't make them great. This is not helping their PR.
No.
At all.
No.
You guys remember the story we talked about last year about the Hyundai Elantra N spec owner who had to sell their unmodified factory performance car due to a noise citation fine in California?
Yes.
Yeah. And if you're listening and you don't, it's fine. We've got that article linked in the show notes. But along those same lines is a piece from Joe Kaczynski at Rinlist. A New York City resident with a stock 2010 911 Carrera S received an $800 fine for violating the city's Stop Spreading the Noise Act. Now, the law is meant to target modified vehicles, and any car exceeding a sound level of 85 decibels is in violation. They claim this 997.2 hit 90.4 decibels while accelerating near the Queens Midtown Tunnel and mailed him an $800 fine. Despite independent test and documentation that his car is unmodified, the city is standing firm. What's complicating this issue is the increases are for repeat offenders, with the top fine for violating the Stop Breaking the Noise Act is $2,500. To put this into scale, the maximum fine for speeding, and that is more than 30 miles an hour over in New York, is $600. We've got a link to both of those articles in our show notes.
Wow.
Should hope they at least get the Harleys on this too. Like, come on.
But if it's in
Loud
decibels,
pipes
and
save lives. Oh.
if it's in decibels, I mean, they shouldn't discriminate. If
You hope not.
If it is over, then I mean, I see why many people would think this is a good idea in general, because there's plenty of loud cars, and if you're sitting on your porch or your rooftop terrace and you've paid bajillions of dollars for your house and you've got this car that screams up and down the highway that's 2 blocks from your house, I can see why the normal non-car carrying person would think and support this idea.
Sure. How about every straight piped V6 Charger in existence?
Anything with a VQ.
Oh God, the VQ is the worst sounding motor ever.
Yes. Yes, it is. Oh well.
Oh well.
Hey, we're pretty sure that one of the best documentaries of all time is the 2010 film Senna. You're going to have us really have a hard time convincing us that the biopic of Brazil's greatest F1 driver and our cat, and who's easily one of the best drivers ever, is not a much watch for all race fans. It's fantastic. On the 30th anniversary of the legend's passing, Netflix is releasing a 6-part scripted dramatization about Senna. The series is going to begin with Senna's move to the United Kingdom to race in the Formula Ford Championship and follow until his tragedy at Imola. The show's teaser trailer was released last week. It recounts his win in front of the home crowd at the 91 Brazilian Grand Prix. It shows the brilliant Honda-powered McLaren MP4-6 that Senna drove, mostly stuck in 6th gear, and featured narration by Gavallo Bueno, who's obviously going to be good, no doubt, who covered all of Ayrton's races and his death. Senna's portrayed by Gabriel Leone, who you recognize from the most recent Ferrari movie, if you saw that. So no release date is set yet, but we're promised it will be this year. So you get to use someone's Netflix account if you don't have one.
We have one. So the second it comes out, I would actually think it'll show up on our list of things you should watch right now, because
Probably
because they know that
recommended for you. Yeah,
it's gonna be it's gonna show up
because your
really
phones are
quickly.
listening to you say Senna all the time to your cat.
They are. Yeah. Fortunately, we don't have a device that we can call that will do things for us. I guess we have them on
Chrissy
our
will
iPhones,
definitely, the phone will definitely hear Chrissy yelling at Senna on the counter or various other things.
Yes, I haven't yelled at her lately. The other one is running around in this room. I heard the other one crash something in that room. So that's a thing. Okay. Steve's F440. Steve, why didn't you get the pro membership? The dishwashing fairy bought this 1987 Nova car that is running a 494 Rotax engine. It fires right up, runs great. It comes with a ton of spares. Mental checked this out in Las Vegas. It belongs to longtime SCCA member. It's set up for autocross, but easily converted for track work if you want. Well, this is something.
Well, this ad is from February. I don't know if he still has this or not. So, but either way,
Oh,
Steve, why you no buy pro membership?
Seriously, you
Code
paid to
code
have
pod
this car
23
shipped to Atlanta, but
and
you
then
won't.
did nothing.
Yeah. Come
I
on,
mean,
man.
such does Steve the dishwashing fairy, but
Mhm.
We're just going
you
to
know.
call Jen because if she wants that thing gone, you need to get that pro membership because that gets you
Correct.
50 photos per ad. People that are going to buy that little car. Yeah. It's
Want to
awesome.
see more than it on the trailer
Seriously. Yeah.
if it's still available.
It's important to see how well it's built, the welds on the frame, things like that. And that's how you can show that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Great idea. Moving on, upcoming races. Lemons is at Sebring's 53 cars, 7 BMWs, 5 Miatas, 3 Hondas, 3 Porsches, and this lovely list from our friend Eric Rude, a small but high quality field. NSF's first Mach 1 Mustang at last. A Sebring at Sebring.
Go,
Only
Bob.
one? Only one? Oh, they used to try to
Yeah.
get more
It's a
than
shame
one.
it's only one, but
Yep.
yep.
The Dart was that was on fire not very long ago, along with some other Mopar heavy hitters. What will probably be another NASCAR painted 68 Dart and 77 Monaco. A legitimate land speed racer citation X11, which is what Mental was talking about. This is the same Racing Junk one that we had.
That's
The
5 cars we've sold on Racing Junk,
yes,
including the Ricky Schroeder Daytona when you guys judged High Plains Raceway.
Yep.
Okay, a couple more. A team that bossed Class B, taking all of the junk out of their weird car, a Saab 9.5, and put it into a far worse car, into a Fiero. The Underdog, Tercel, and Corolla. The Vanaball will hopefully be there and hopefully be happier than they were at Pitt. And the only car I think that will have run all 3 Sebring races, Florida Idiots 9044. They won the first Sebring race in 14.
In that high quality field, one of those 3 Hondas, boom, fat crack, rolling in the Accord.
Can't see it, but that's okay.
Oh,
We'll
sorry,
believe
here it
you.
is. All right, yeah, there it is.
Nope, still can't see it, but
Yep.
okay.
It's close enough.
Cool.
Yes. So go team fat crack.
Go.
Lucky Dog is at Atlanta Motorsports Park for their Who Let the Dogs Out. This is the second race of their Carolina Cup. There are 47 cars, 11 BMWs,
Mm,
10 Miatas,
Wow.
6 Hondas, 1 Porsche, but there is an 87 Fiero.
nice.
Oh.
All right. Hey, did you guys know that Lucky Dog is running pit race?
I don't know that
Maybe not. Hey, recently out of their schedule. Looking at you, Al. October 26th and 27th. For those of you who don't want to go to Halloween Hoopty Fest, if it's too far.
Halloween Hoopty
great.
Fest is the weekend prior.
Correct.
Is it? Well, even better.
is.
That's wonderful.
You can go to both.
Right, you could. Dogtoberfest is a joint event with Lucky Dog Racing Canada, limited to just 60 cars for a 7 plus 8 hour enduro. Right now, car entry, including captain and 4 drivers, which is the minimum, is only $1,800 with the early dog
Ooh.
discount. And that goes until September 25th. So if you've never been to a Lucky Dog event, we highly recommend it. If you've never been to Pitt, we highly recommend it. Might as well do both.
It'll
Yeah.
be nice and chilly there. Yes, it will.
Yeah. I don't know which will be more chilly, New Hampshire or Pittsburgh,
Oh, I don't know.
Ooh.
the end of October.
The wind was
Odds of winter. The wind is always bad at Pitt.
Yep. Yep, it is.
Who
Yeah.
knows? We'll have to see.
Go to both.
Yep. That'd be quite the 2 weeks.
Correct. All right.
Mhm.
Recent results. Lemons was at Gingerman last weekend. I got the boring ones. Winner on laps was Save the Tatas Racing in their Chevy Camaro or whatever it is now these days. B class went to product design in a Saturn SL2. And when Class C winners went to test card in an 84 Rover SD1.
Nice.
Org choice was Skunk Works. It's a 72 Opel GT. They had lots of pictures of that on their media. It was pretty cool. Heroic Fix, GT50 racing car number 15, and a 95 Ford Probe GT. Judge's choice was Buckle Up, Buckaroo. They were in that Cobalt that Eric was very excited about last week, 2006 Cobalt, their first ever actual Cobalt SS, and they're out of Canada. I Got Screwed was Blue Steel, number 65 in a 98 Mustang. And the Halloween Meets Gasoline was Dizg Racing and an 893 Taurus SHO.
The Mercure Cup. Which Mercure sucked least? Went to the Mercure Project Mercure Space Program in their 89 XR4 Ti, which they actually let Nate drive after his car blew up on Friday. And that's a nice V8 swap. They've got a lot of work done to that. They're nice people. Here for the Beer Cup, went to Dumpster Fire Motorsports in their 97 Subaru Impreza. That's a very aptly named team for a Subaru. Lemons a Gardening Award went to Sofa King Racing, number 60 in our 1990 Miata. There's More to Life Than Being Really, Really, Really Ridiculously Good at Driving Award went to Dumpster Fire Racing, number 5 in their 78 Triumph Spitfire GT. They have good choice in cars. Winner in the IOE, Sparrow Thrust Racing, their 1963 Studebaker Lark. So you'd have to bring something real strong to beat a 63 Studebaker for IOE.
Seriously. Yeah, that is awesome.
So some of this next stuff I read in email. I was thinking we might want to save this for a show. Can we do
Oh.
that?
Well, he threw that out there to us today.
Yes, I saw
Okay.
it. I think we should save it.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
Okay. Listener feedback time.
All right. So I posted a joke on the Instagram about Cybertrucks being called Incel Caminos. And Tyler said, that's even better than Wank Panzer.
And on the YouTube, Michael K said, might make it all the way through this one before going to Gingerman, but I have to give you some required watching on the YouTube's super fast Matt on his forged carbon fiber episode.
Okay.
Check that out, which I owe some of our YouTubers an apology as I sat down at this computer today to get everything ready to go. On YouTube, our audio only episode uploaded that it takes from our Spotify upload, but the video one had aborted halfway through. So I just fixed that. It's now on there if you want to watch,
Oh, no.
the entire deal. It's now on there. It's
3
great.
of us sitting there. Yep. It's pretty exciting.
Well, it's not even us, well, I do have the one part where I added the sound of the Ferrari as
Oh, that's
promised.
good. Excellent.
Yeah.
Tyler said, the few times I've tried to use fiberglass didn't go super well, so I'm definitely not an expert. I know plenty of airplanes are built with foam core fiberglass construction, and all the airplane builders I know use West System as well. Far down my to-do list is making a foam core wing for the MX-3. He thinks he should be able to make one out of housing insulation, home insulation cut with a hot wire. We'll see how it actually works. And that is totally a way to do it, is you use those pink boards and
Ooh.
you carve them into the shape you want, and then fiberglass around them. And that gives, we talked about having a core to your fiberglass product to give it
Yeah.
extra strength. And that is totally a way to do it. And the foam allows you to carve it. And that's also a way you can make a mold. You make the original out of the foam, make fiberglass around it to make the mold, and then use that otherwise. So you're not too far off there, Tyler. Well done.
And while this is a very Tyler intensive listener feedback, we want to congratulate Tyler. He just passed his flight instructor check ride this Sunday. And Chris, he said, you can have all the free lessons you want for the help you have given him over the years.
If only he was anywhere near Frederick, Maryland. That would be great.
or closer. That would be
Yeah.
great too. Anywhere around here. And on Facebook, DJ914 said, it's itchy. That's correct. It is fairly itchy. And on the IG, cav.scout74 said it enjoyed our information. So good. Hope it was helpful.
You know who's never itchy?
It's
Wait,
funny.
there's a story.
There's a story. So one
Both
time,
fingers. If you're not watching this on YouTube, both of them held up the one finger. This was
there's
hilarious.
a time that my mom and I were so itchy. So it's probably 94 degrees, lots of humidity one day in the summer. Previously, Chris and I moved into a condo, and Chris
This
had
is
a
long
sa-
time ago.
this is
2008 to 2000. Yes. Or
about 16
2009.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Chris and I lived in a condo when we first met, and Chris needed to work on a sailboat. I
It
just
was the rudder for my
Rudder on the
22-foot sailboat.
right.
Yes.
It needed to be replaced, refiberglassed, fixed, whatever. Did
It
it
had
in the
broken in half.
garage.
I had to fix it.
Did it in the garage of our condo with the door closed. So all of the walls, everything in this whole garage was covered in fiberglass. It was covered. Chris goes away for work, and my mom and I beg my mom to help me clean this garage with fiberglass everywhere. So it's now it's 94 degrees on a Saturday. It is so hot. So we are covered in fiberglass, trying to clean this fiberglass out of a condo garage. We're like dying of heat stroke because there's no air. And then we decided to jump in the pool, which because we were at a condo, so we had a pool. That helped, but it was very itchy. It was it was terrible, is what it was. So there is time when my mom was itchy because we decided to try to clean up Chris's mess, is what it came down to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
So I'm
the
taking
story.
two lessons from this. One, should have listened to your 20-year in the future, just the tip, where you said always have long sleeves and covered.
Oh, I mean, it was 94 degrees.
And
it
then
was,
B, never clean up after Chris.
that's probably the better answer. It was one of those nice things to do. He came home and I surprised him and said, look
It
what
was
we
such
did. We
a
almost died,
wonderful
but it was
day.
fine.
Hey, want to see what we did for you?
We almost died. You could not
I
wear
couldn't believe it.
You
Yeah.
could not wear long sleeve shirts because we actually, yes. That's
Well-
why we raised our hand, because there was a time when my mom and I were very itchy.
I have no doubt that her Mother's Day celebration was fantastic, prepared for her by her lovely children and also your sister. So a sincere and heartfelt congratulations and happy Mother's Day to everybody. And that also includes the other Chris that very few people have gotten to meet. So Chris, tell your mother I said happy Mother's Day as well.
Will
Okay.
do.
Will do.
So, and if you're listening to this and you're a mother, happy Mother's Day.
There's probably not many.
Belated. It's like a week late, but
it's fine. Whatever.
The sentiment's there.
There's still a mom, so there's that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's my time. Okay, let's start this with story time. I feel.
Yeah.
I love how you guys
this
framed
janky
this.
life. Today in several acts, we're going to talk about things that are just super janky because we've had a lot of jank in our life. We've had a lot of jank come in and come out. We think as we get older, wiser, more mature, maybe we won't have as much jank. And then mental goes and proves us wrong. So today in several acts, we'll talk about various aspects of this janky life.
And we don't
And
even
this
have
all
the Earl of Jankerton with us.
Right?
But this is going to really,
Jankerton.
this all stems from Mental's poor choices this weekend. So Mental, tell us,
Let's start.
gather round,
there.
children. It's not going to let the truth get in the way of a good yarn. So where were you this weekend? What'd you do? How to work out?
How did it start? How did you get?
Yeah.
How did you?
Yeah, that's
think
it.
that, why do you think this was a good idea in the first place? All of it.
All right. If you are just listening to the show and you do not understand what we are talking about this past
Idea.
weekend, I traveled to beautiful Piedmont, Oklahoma, just outside of Oklahoma City. And there, the ugly one, white pickup truck became mine. A very dear friend, longtime Oklahoma friend. He is making one of these great contextual shifts, that just sometimes people do in their lives. You're going back to school or you're getting married, you're selling your fiberglass laden condo and you're buying a home together. And to do so, he is purging several of his projects. One of them was a 2008 Ford F-250 crew cab that had been sitting in his yard for quite some time. And for those that were asking the entire time there, and I got lots of contact and lots of folks commenting, why on God's green earth would you buy the crew cab with the 5.4 Triton V8? Because it's the 3-valve. It's the worst 5.4 ever. And the price was, come get it out of my yard. I need it gone.
Really? That's it? All it's
That-
all?
That's it.
Okay.
I need a
That's,
truck.
that's priced well, actually. So that's good.
Now, it absolutely needed tires. They'd been sitting on the truck for years. It leaks transmission fluid. More on that as we continue. There's some other issues with it, but you don't feel bad about using this truck as a truck. So I hopped on Frontier Airlines. My initial ticket was $40, but I upgraded to get my emergency exit row.
Oh,
Flew
how
out
hard
there.
did you have to pedal on the way?
Exactly.
Did they? How much charge did they charge you for air? How much did you need?
I
to
read
play
all of it, and nope, I was prepared. I didn't pay any other extra fees. My carry-on fit in their little tiny personal item measurer that everyone has to do when you get onto a Frontier airline. Yeah, they did everything. And
Did you say
actually,
you upgraded to first class?
no,
or
no.
some other
Exit
class?
row.
I paid
Oh,
for the
exit row.
emergency
Okay,
exit
I was
row.
gonna say, I was like, I didn't think they had that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And to Frontier's credit, they swapped planes, and my assigned seat was not an exit row.
You
And
said no.
And I got the air hostess attention, and I'm like,
Air hostess?
or I don't know what they're flight attendants, whatever they're called these days. And I said, hey, I paid for this exit row seat. And she pulls out a tablet, and she's like, oh yes, you're Mr. Ward. You absolutely did. Please, I have the exit row open. Wow. Okay, I was expecting a lot of pushback there, but all right, Frontier. So yeah, hopped in a plane.
No buts, no, and then this happened, and they kicked me. I lost the door, so I flew out the side. Like none of that.
You didn't have to ratchet strap the door closed while you were flying? No?
Nope.
Hold it
Wow.
here, Mr. Ward. Could you just please hold this while we fly? Thank you.
Sometimes in the middle of the flight, the window just kind of starts coming down a little bit. Every now and again, you're just
Yes.
gonna have to rank over there and crank it back.
Roll it up. Yeah.
Roll it back up. So yeah, it was an actual lovely flight back into Oklahoma. Met
Okay.
up with some of my old gearhead buddies that I had not. I had forgotten while I talked to them. I'm on a text thread with all of them. I had not seen them in meet space in 10 years.
Okay.
Well, and it's a shame because they're all really, really good people. So one of them picks me out, runs me out to my buddy's house. The truck is sitting there. I drive it up the street, fill it full of gas, and realize that the gas gauge does not work. More on that in a moment.
You have
So
a
how
lot
much gas
more,
did it take?
more on
So it
that.
took 24 gallons. And I had researched on the internet and apparently clicked on the wrong link because it told me that tank holds 35 gallons. Spoiler alert, it does not.
It does not.
And then I spent the remainder of that afternoon trying to find somebody that would throw some tires on it, and pulled up to the Walmart, and the person at the counter was like, look, I got one tech right now. He's already going to be working an hour and a half late. I got nothing. So I sat up there and made some phone calls. As it turns out, all of the Walmart auto service centers were in the same boat, and Discount Tire didn't have any cheap tires. They would be happy to sell me a set of Michelins. No, we're not buying Michelins for this truck. And so
This truck isn't good enough for Michelin's. Michelin's
No.
for closers.
Michelin-
Michelin's are for people that want to make it home. Mm.
these tires made it home just fine.
Okay. You had to get them on in the first place. All right.
Right. And after a while, gave up, went to dinner, got up the next morning, went back to the same Walmart, waiting in line. It ended up, they did squeeze me in without an appointment. So the lesson learned, if you're going to take a janky road trip, especially when you know a couple days beforehand, call and get the appointment, because I would have been in and out and on the road. By the time I got on the road, I was about 9 hours behind schedule.
Wow. That's with sleeping? That's with sleeping.
No, because I was
Some.
trying to be on the road at 7 a.m. the next day, and I got on the road about 5 the next day. So yeah, and pointed the truck west, and away we went.
Okay. With no flaws, made it home. Yay.
Not even close.
No, kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Just kidding.
It's a
200
great story for a show topic, actually.
Yeah.
How Mental had an uneventful drive somewhere.
Yeah.
Who knew?
And we're done. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we're done.
Thanks
Great.
for
Yeah,
listening.
thanks for tuning
No,
in.
just kidding.
243 miles into the trip, just as I cross into Texas, the truck slowly starts losing power and dies within a quarter of a mile of a gas station.
Did the person selling this tell you it had no gas gauge?
He didn't know. He'd gotten the truck because he did some work for his neighbor, and his neighbor's like, "Here, take this old horse truck that I used to got, and
And
you
he
can
like
fix
never
it, sell
drove it
it."
down the street and was like, "Wow, it says no gas."
Nope.
Okay.
To make sure that I could drive it down the street and put gas in it, he threw like a quarter can of gas on it, and
So
yeah.
you put 24 gallons in at the store and you made it 240 miles. That's easy math.
Yes.
If the
Okay.
math is correct,
Because again, the internet
um,
tells me
variables are correct.
the internet tells me that this truck gets 10 miles per gallon. Spoiler alert. It does not.
It does not.
Actually, it gets 13. I rounded down to 10. As it
It's
turns out,
empty too, right? Like
Yeah,
you're not
yeah.
hauling anything.
No.
There's not, no, you're not towing it. Okay.
Nope.
Just checking.
Did you
Yeah.
decide to pick up some horses along the way? Oh, look, free horses.
Free
I have a free
horses.
truck. Let me
one
just
of
put
them's
these-
one of them's got 3 legs. It's fun.
I mean, it's Oklahoma. Aren't there just janky horses sitting in the side of the
Yeah,
highway?
we
Like,
found. I saw some. I know they exist. That was part of our scavenger hunt. I
Yeah.
know they exist.
So I start the walk, and it's on the Instagram story to the gas station. And right as I get to the gas station, and this is Panhandle, 100 miles from Amarillo, middle of nowhere, Texas. A lovely couple and a Toyota goes, is that your F-250 back there? Yeah. Did you
Yep.
run out of gas?
Yep.
Yes, I did. You want to ride back? That would be lovely. So I go into the gas station to buy a gas can. The only one they had that's bigger than a,
Thumbnail.
Hollywood starlet purse is a diesel can. And I'm like, oh, that's right. This is Texas, not New Jersey. So I get the yellow diesel can, fill it full of gas. They run me back out to the truck, fires right up, and I drive it back and fill it up. And this time is when I find out it has a 30-gallon tank. And I had been getting 8.4 miles per gallon at 80 miles an hour. Meanwhile, several people are checking in. They're checking on the story. So I'm catching up on some of the social medias while I'm sitting safely in
it
a
takes
gas
a while
station.
to fill it up.
It does. And
Hanging out.
Brett, from our buddy from Arizona, VA Auto, says, actually, at 80 miles an hour, yeah, you're going to get terrible gas mileage. Drop it to 75 and you will see an increase. The remainder of the trip, I did 75 miles an hour. When I could. There were times when I couldn't even do that. And I actually did get closer to 10 miles per gallon.
Okay.
Wonderful.
You still have a gas gauge
know.
that doesn't work.
Still have
I'm
a
trying
gas
to
gauge. It doesn't work, but I do have a trip meter.
Okay.
So now hang on a little more about this. Is that display a few questions on the truck? I barely saw the picture. It is a crew cab long bed.
That is a
Because
true
again,
and
we need to do
accurate
audio.
statement.
Audio show, guys. Remember audio show.
Yes,
crew
yes.
Cab
And
long bed.
so it's a 7.5
Right.
foot bed. It is the XL, which is just
The
one
base
step
model.
up from fleet sales. There's another, and this is just for my co-host really, but there's another picture of it on a corner in Winslow, Arizona.
Yep. That's a crew cab long bed, white base model fleet, 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive?
2-wheel drive.
2-wheel drive, which fine in the desert. You don't need 4-wheel drive out where you
Do
are.
not
That's
need,
fine.
do not want
Yep.
2-wheel
So
drive. Yeah.
some
Really.
brief stats that I've been able to pull up here. This monstrosity is 262 inches long.
Yes.
That is a full 2.5 feet longer than my big Escalade. For
It-
reference,
it is
2
damn-
feet?
Yeah.
2.5 feet, 30 inches longer
Oh my
than
God.
the Escalade ESV that
It's
we
brutal.
have.
It
Yes,
is a
it's just
great
it's
big
nice
old
to
truck.
know that.
Lots of room. Anywhere you sit inside, plenty of room.
Oh yeah. Well, it's
It better be.
It's not kidding. 22 feet long. I've barely owned boats bigger than this thing, so
Right?
it's certainly
For
lots
Our
smaller
boat
reference,
that
than
we
my-
own
Yeah.
isn't that long.
No,
For
it's not.
reference, my RV, my super class CRV is 29 feet.
Yep.
Wow.
Good. That's great.
And also
Fantastic.
it's
This is like
better
a-
gas mileage.
with
But
2
you
more
can't-
cylinders. It's amazing.
Right, but you can't sleep in it as well as you can your RV.
Not quite as well, but I bet
but
that back seat
You
pretty
probably
wide
could've-
across.
You probably could
I
have fit a
did.
small
I,
horse in the back, though. I
Yeah.
feel
As,
Oh,
like
yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. As I got 9 hours behind, as soon as I started to get sleepy, I'm like, we're not doing this. I am not getting injured over a free truck. So I pulled into a truck stop and yeah, totally just hit the back seat and racked out.
was it was sufficient?
Yeah, I fit.
Okay.
So
Excellent.
yeah.
Slept under the stars.
Okay, so you made it through that day, only running out of gas once. And then
That-
what you can
that
tell
day.
us what kind
Yes.
of tires you got at the Walmart. I mean, because these are Douglas extra Wranglers or like what?
Ooh, I
kinda-
wasn't forking out no big money for Douglas extra track. No, I literally told the guy a set of your finest Korean tires, please. And he went and found the
Sumatomos.
cheapest, like Dura Humo. I don't know, but
They're round.
they hold air. Yeah,
Oh,
they
they're
work
the
in
Ma-
rain really
They're
well.
the Maypop brand, I think, is what it is.
Yes, there it is. That's a good one. Yeah,
Maybe.
I just
Yeah.
needed something with a date code from this century.
You're
Yeah.
funny. Mhm.
Okay.
And
Okay.
So
while
you-
there, because now another thing that we haven't touched on is what I hope is the transmission pad gasket, the transmission
Oh,
leaks.
yes.
So I also
Just a
had
little
to,
leak, though, right? Just like a.
Yeah. And the whole
I know
What's
the
our
underside.
answer.
definition of little?
I know
Yeah.
the answer.
I power washed it when I first got it because every time I would come to a stoplight, it looked like it was on fire with
Mm.
all of the transmission fluid burning off the exhaust. So I'm keeping an eye on it. Now that the fuel gauge doesn't work, the transmission temperature gauge works great. So I was able to actually monitor the transmission.
You watched
there.
it be on fire. Super.
Exactly. And what we quickly discovered is that it was burning about a half a quart every 100 miles. So every fill up quart of transmission fluid.
Yeah. Do you know where it's leaking from?
I believe it's the gasket on the transmission pan. It's a
On the pan. Okay.
yeah, it's a $20 gasket. There is one sitting at the O'Reilly's just up the street. As soon as we get done recording, I will be going and fetching that one.
Cool.
Yes.
All right.
So
So you wake up bright and early at the truck stop. The
Mhm.
lot leaders didn't hassle you overnight.
Nope.
You get your coupon for a free shower. And
which I don't take. So I just wanted to get
Oh.
on the road and get home. Yeah. And this is Mother's Day Sunday. So yes, I am. That was in New Mexico. I did make one, the first
where
of my,
in New Mexico was this? Just curious. to
right
map it all
across
out
the-
approximately
uh,
across the border from.
from Texas. I'm about 100, 200 miles outside of Albuquerque. Cause I did stop in Amarillo, Texas, and I had dinner at the Big Texan. I did not
What?
do the 72-ounce steak, but I did get myself a good proper steak and
You were on
continue my
I-40.
journey. Yes.
So you were somewhere between the Santa Rosa and.
Actually, I was Santa
Tucum-
Rosa. That was exactly it. I was in Santa Rosa.
Fantastic. Excellent. So that is due east of Albuquerque. Just following along on a map, seeing how it is. That's
Pretty much. Exactly.
That's not halfway.
No.
Put it that way. Nope. Okay. Just yep. Making that clear.
Because
Just so we're-
I am 9 hours behind schedule.
Yeah.
And at this point, as you are no doubt following on your map, I've begun to ascend into the Rockies. Yes.
No
So
fail in that plan.
Gas mileage getting better.
so
Yeah.
we hoped. But I am making a point every time I see the trip odometer to get to around 200. I'm trying to stop. And as we move into Arizona, I stop at Winslow, Arizona, because the irony of driving a Ford into Winslow, Arizona, even in my punch drunk state, is not lost on me. So I had to stop and get a picture next to the flatbed Ford that they have on the corner in Winslow, Arizona. Now, Chrissy is not getting this joke because she's not familiar with a band called the Eagles and a song called Take It Easy. But if you've ever driven down Route 66 or I-40, Winslow, Arizona, at several points, even one of them was a bar that is burned to the ground that they now turned into a city park. They have a flatbed Ford parked in front of it at all times.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
There's not much else in Winslow, Arizona, by the way. That's pretty much it. There's a
Actually,
there's some
that whole area is
Fords.
quite lovely. They've got some nice little like gastro pubs and everything, and it's neat. And in fact, the picture that I was just showing you guys uh, is the Ford next to a flatbed Ford. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Excellent. So
as
this
I
takes
am,
you into some lovely territory now, like going through Flagstaff is very nice.
it is very nice. It's also very tall. I
Mm.
believe 7,000 feet at one point. As I'm leaving Winslow, Arizona, I've got 185 miles on the trip odometer. I pull into a gas station. Every pump that is functional is taken and there is a line. All the other pumps are broken.
Ooh.
You know what? I can make it to the next gas station.
Huh.
Spoiler alert,
I
I cannot. Now, lessons I
oh.
did learn is when I first time I ran out of gas and I bought the gas can and I drove the truck back to the same gas station, I filled the gas can and put it in the bed of the truck.
Oh, SMRT. You are so
Yes.
smart.
And yet again, within visual range, a eighth of a mile of a gas station, I feel the truck lose power and I just start laughing because I know exactly what has happened. So I pull the truck over, dump the can of gas in there, and make it the remainder to the gas station there in Arizona. And then yet another quart of transmission fluid. The rest of my journey was uneventful, but the trip-o-meter on that one told me I was getting like 8.1 miles per gallon, even at 75. And as I'm continuing to ascend into Flagstaff on many an occasion, I cannot get the truck to go faster than 65 miles an hour because
Oh.
it is huge and it is the tiniest, crappiest engine. And we are climbing at altitude and it simply does not like it.
Okay.
How many miles approximately? I mean,
1,157.8.
no, on the
No,
truck.
on the truck.
Oh, 257,000 when I started. Now it's at like 258 and some change.
Awesome.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So had it blown up, I simply would have taken all the paperwork out of the truck, hitched a ride to the nearest airport, and gotten my way home. Because at this point, no one can prove it's mine.
That's
Okay.
excellent. I'm
How
guessing it's probably on its original or maybe second set of spark plugs ever because the spark plugs on this generation of Ford modular engine either get stuck or blow out. I forget, is this in the blowout? No, this is in the get stuck range. So
And
they
is
don't get
yes.
changed
I
because
got a
everyone's afraid of them.
meme. I got a meme from somebody, and it's the Russian bit where the German soldiers surrounding him, and he's like holding up his hands and says, "Don't shoot me, I'm a mechanic." And the Germans say, "Can you change out the spark plugs on my Ford 5.43 valve?" And the third panel is, "Yeah, okay, shoot me."
Yeah.
So this is yes, it is probably on, you know, and it's the coil pack on plugs. So it's also not exactly cheap.
And it's such a common problem that they make special tools because they expect you to break the spark plugs and have to extract them. So before you go trying to do that, Mental, make sure you buy the special tools for
I
this because
mean,
I
or
guarantee
he
you're going to
can
need them.
try and then go out and buy the special tool for
I mean,
what's
that's more
broken.
janky and more on
So
character, but
as and listeners, just some sausage making on this one. Um, we have a text thread. We were talking about show topics, and it was, oh, you look like you had an adventure. You think we can make a show topic out of this? And we are. This isn't all just about my truck. And I went back and listened to the first episode that references Janky, episode 11.
Yeah. Wow.
This was many years ago. The Mazda 3 was still your street car. And there's a
Yep.
lot of very odd foreshadowing about how much I want your AMG. And I keep saying it will be mine one day.
Oh,
Uh,
that's so weird.
Jeff still had the Avalanche. And we were all talking about our various janky vehicles at the time on this one. And that mental absolutely would change out the plugs without the special tool.
Yes. Even
2024
knowing that
mental. 2024 Mental is ordering the special tool right now. Even if it doesn't come out of the packaging, I know it is just a sacrifice to Murphy.
Okay.
The other problem with the truck, and it's throwing a check engine code on this one, is
No
also
way.
with this
I had no
generation.
idea.
Yeah, with this generation of the 5.4s, it's effectively a variable cam timing. It's called a cam phaser, and it adjusts the cams on there, and those go bad as well. And it did come with the cam phaser elimination kit, so that will also be getting put onto the engine.
Excellent.
Excellent.
When you put spark plugs in, put in like iridiums or something, so you know you will never ever have to change them ever again.
He is writing that down. Put in
Yep.
iridium plugs. Okay, good to
Yeah.
know.
They will
Absolutely.
last longer than the rest of the truck at this point. So
I'm not
which is
sure because
important.
now it's rust free. It's out here in the desert, and it was rust free in Oklahoma. There is no rust under that truck.
Oh, that's good.
It's fine.
If
then.
you
Okay.
remember
Don't worry about
the Toyota level of not rusty, that's this one.
Okay.
it.
All
Okay.
right. So you made it home. You've got this stupid truck now. There you go.
Yes.
Now, this sounds like it's I have to say the road trip was a little janky, but a lot of that was self-inflicted. In general, this sounds like a modest to, modest to high level of jank, but certainly not the jankiest thing around. Like this,
Not even
rust-free,
close. Yeah.
made it the trip with only running out of gas is your problem.
Air conditioner worked.
All right, so now we're definitely at like a 5 on the jank scale.
And
Five out of what?
on that same episode, and I
Okay,
quote
okay.
you, if it runs and has a title and the air conditioner works and it's less than $1,000, you buy it.
Is that what Chris said?
Chris said the exact words. This
Yeah,
was the episode
I'm
when
not
he was
wrong.
rebuilding that. He's not. He's absolutely not wrong. This is the episode when he was rebuilding the Honda engine while we were recording, and he kept scraping through the bucket of bolts. Yes.
Okay.
that was-
So
all right.
no, this
Street
was
philosophy.
this was and yes, some self-inflicted thing. I could have avoided so much of this if I had actually just made the appointment at Walmart. But it is one of those, we have learned lessons. Like if we were still the same level of jank we were 7 years ago, we started this nonsense. Then, what's the whole point of, learn from our mistakes and how to make well-informed bad decisions. I knew those tires were dry rotted. They're sitting on there and you know what? I am not changing 8 lug nuts on the side of the road to put another janky, probably original spare on this thing so that I can wait in a Walmart parking lot overnight and buy the tires anyway. So I got the tires done. I had the oil changed and they topped off all the fluids before I left. So it's not the jankiest thing and it shouldn't be. I recognize that there was still massive potential for failure. The one thing that was making me nervous is I was not traveling with any tools because I just wasn't going to pay Frontier Airlines to ship tools on that one. It would have been cheaper to buy them at Harbor Freight.
Which is what we
And
did.
I actually did a very loose risk versus reward assessment based on a lot of things problems that we've had, but also lessons that we've learned and things that I've listened to you guys tell me.
Well, like what?
Every time I'm about to do something dangerous, I actually hear Chrissy's voice in my head.
Oh
no. And I did not, hence the motivation about not wanting to change a tire on the side of a freeway at 2:00 in the morning in nowhere, New Mexico, and get run over by,
I mean,
something
because
in
you
a
were doing
thunderstorm.
videos while you were fueling on the side of the highway, and
Yes.
you had trucks that just were like blowing you around, right? So the fact that you could just be missing it, and what if you just lost the whole tire, like the whole wheel, right? Like you never just
Yeah.
what? Just
This truck
lose
sits
the
6
whole
feet in
thing.
the air. That was going to be a control issue.
Yeah.
Descending into some mountain road coming out of Flagstaff or
Right,
something. Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, in that one, just the do your future self a favor kind of, thing that Chris likes to go, if future Mental had been sitting on the side of the road changing a tire, he would have been really, really pissed. And, why didn't you just wait the 9 hours and get the new tires, Mental?
Because now you're spending
mental-
the 9 hours waiting for AAA, or you're just sitting there
Yeah.
waiting on
Yeah,
Sitting
Saturday.
on the
if I
side of
have
the road at
cell
2 o'clock in
service.
the morning.
Yes, right.
And yeah, and while I was there, the technician kind of, pulls the oil and he walks over so he doesn't think that, he's spinning me a line, and he shows me the dipstick, and it is bad coffee colored, like just
Ooh.
black as your
Sludgy.
soul. And I'm like, yeah, we'll go ahead and do that oil change too.
That's great. You have
Excellent.
identified the kind of person that I am, and that you
Yeah.
have somewhere to be.
So let's think about then, if this is a medium level of jank, what is one of, if not the jankiest vehicle we have had?
We
Any of us? Yes,
All of us,
individually.
all of us, absolutely,
Yeah,
yes.
we each need to go through
Okay.
what is our jankiest
Reflections
car?
on jankiness.
Yeah.
And you
what's
go,
the
Chris.
parameters? What are my parameters?
Oh,
Driving?
No,
How do
literally
you
the
do
worst
driving?
car you've ever had that you had
Well,
to do the sketchiest crap to go to work every day.
Or just do the one that meets your definition of janky, or as close to it as you can get it. And your jankiest car probably won't be as janky as the ones we've had that have actually been used.
Well,
Oh,
Yeah, I'm with Chrissy.
ah.
I think Chrissy, because she talked about in
That's right,
episode 11
she had
some of her
those
Mark II
Volkswagens. Yeah.
Volkswagens. Yeah,
That's what I'm trying to
True.
figure out. Like, where do we even start with the list that I have?
Well,
you
I'll give
had
you a minute to think about it.
you had 8 of them, and you said you would have to
Oh.
rotate through them to figure out which one was going to get you to work.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
go
and that
with
was
one.
closer to that was whatever 7 years ago was closer to remembering
actually
which
owned them.
cars I had. Yes, okay, all right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think the jankiest car I owned was probably my MGB GT that I had when I
Ooh.
was 17. It was a 1969 BGT, and this is 1996. So
Was
this
it
car is
gray
a
one?
20. No, it was maroon. So it was a maroon MGB GT. I got it with no overdrive. The overdrive wasn't working, and I
Of
didn't really
course.
inspect it. I'm 17 years old. This thing runs.
It's cool.
Right? It worked. It got me to school, barely, but it did. And some of the things that made it janky are that it didn't have some of the interior bits, at most of them, but not all of them. But I made sure to put a stereo in it because I'm 17. The rockers were very rusty, but they seemed all right.
New England.
I never looked at the tires.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then one day I'm coming back from Cape Cod. I'm doing about 80 miles an hour because I'd fixed the overdrive by this point. And one of the tires apparently was a retread, and the tread flew off, wrapped itself around the axle, and started smacking the underside of the car, tore a brake line off, and I have to escape to the median because it sounds like a bomb just hit the car.
And also the amount of floorboard and you're like on the ground, right? Like it's there's no sound deadening there, or very minimal, I'm sure, but
I don't think I had checked if it had any spare tires or tools in it, but it had a spare tire and had a jack, and this is their wire wheels, so it's
hammer.
one giant.
right?
It
Like
didn't
one
have the
thing.
hammer. That's what it didn't have.
Oh, did you have
It
to?
had the wrench to go over the center lug nut, which is an octagonal one. I had to use the jack as a
That's what I was
hammer
figuring
to
you
get it
were.
loose enough to be able to then jack the car up and change the wheel. And then I drove it home the rest of the way. I was halfway home from the Cape with no brakes. I stopped halfway. Chrissy, the Burger King in Mobile that's Route 24 and 495. I stopped there and got some brake fluid and filled it back up, so I knew I'd get a couple more pumps out of it,
Oh,
which I
my
used when I got close to home.
It's the predecessor to racing the rolls. You get one stop.
Yep. Yep. Fortunately, it was a 69, so it actually had a dual circuit braking system and not a single circuit, but still, you can only do that so many times. And
But you
then
knew that, so you knew that you could fill it a couple.
Well, I had found that I knew it was pumping out. I was like, well, I'll just put more in. And so I did, and that got me home.
Spraying out. You're like, hit.
This is a perfectly reasonable solution.
Yeah.
You're addressing the symptom. It's
Yeah.
pumping out. I put in more.
I'm trying to
That's
remember
neat.
if it had seat belts or not. I think it may have had lap belts on the front seats, and that was it. And
And I'm sure they
because I
were
was
in great shape.
No, they were not. And definitely had my friend Paul in the back
There's no
area of
back
the MG.
seat.
Right? No, he was kind of laying across the back cargo area because he was smaller than my other friend. Um, and eventually what did it in is the floor under the driver's seat rotted out so badly that the whole back left corner just kind of dropped down. And I didn't know how to weld or do anything about that. So that was kind of it for
And
that
you weren't
car.
going to be able to weld rust anyway.
No,
What
that
what
was
did
it.
you do with it then?
We sold it to an MG friend who
Okay.
actually I got to say the motor ran great and
Oh,
that car was actually quick.
Great.
So I think he took the motor out and used
The
it in a
rest of the
different car.
car is a hot
Rest
mess.
of the car was
but
shot.
okay.
Oh yeah. But then the overdrive transmission that worked was worth something. That was good. So like it became a parts car after that. So I think that's the jankiest car that I have owned is that one.
That's pretty awesome. I reference it in the episode that we talk about. The jankiest car I've owned was my first Porsche 924 that I bought in Germany. And Chrissy, I'm sure you'll remember the fuel pump relay that always goes out on the Volkswagens, and you just wire a switch to the fuel pump relay on for the longest time. Because remember, I had a '79 Scirocco.
Don't you just hit it?
No, not the pump. The pump was fine. It's the relay that would turn the
Oh,
pump on when
oh.
you turned on the ignition. Those were
Mm.
notorious for failing, and no one would ever fix them. Everyone would just wire a simple 2-cent switch to the pump. So you'd start the car and and then if you ever forgot and left the pump on, you'd come back to a flooded engine.
Mm.
But yeah, so that was the first thing that went.
I'm sure you never left that on.
I actually never did.
Oh, okay.
But
Good.
all I had when it went out was a giant roll, and I'm not even sure where I got it, but it was a giant roll of speaker wire.
Nice.
So just,
It's
little
better than
tiny
extension cord that you cut apart to do. That's one step above extension cord.
The extension cord might have had a little more amperage to it, but it's the clear old school, like you're running it to your 6x9s in the package tray, speaker wire. And I had a giant roll of it. So I wired it up with the speaker wire and a switch. Shortly after that, the ignition, probably the actual key itself went out. It would turn the car on, but I couldn't get it to actually engage the starter. So I wired that up with the clear speaker wire because I had this big roll of it and wired that
Everything
directly
was
to the
speaker
ignition
wire.
with a yes. Then the headlights would not come on. So I wired those directly to the battery with this clear speaker wire that I had at the time. It got to the point where everything on that car had the exact same clear speaker wire running straight to the battery and then to a 50-cent switch that I would just put in random places. There were 4 switches I had to turn on in addition to just operating the car to make the car run. And I remember I'm having a conversation and you need to get rid of this car. I'm like, no, this car's fine. I can keep fixing it. It will keep running. As if on cue, it shut down right there on the side of the road and just limped off to the side. I ended up selling it for slightly above scrap value to a guy that went and had to buy an entirely new wire harness and spend months putting it in because it was just slowly shorting across. Now, I didn't cause the shorts, but I didn't help the situation having everything wired straight to a battery without a fuse through the cheapest on-off switches that I could possibly find, all using the exact same wire.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna mention the Babe Rally minivan.
That thing was just crap. It wasn't janky. It was just old
Okay.
and crappy.
Okay.
That's true. The level of sketchiness of this 924, especially wired entirely with clear speaker wire,
Yeah.
By
is
yeah.
worse
by a
than just
20-year-old mental who has access to the best beer in the world. This is not
Yeah.
going to go well.
That's worse
Okay.
than
Okay.
a 20-year-old Chevy van that's just tired.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and we were we're talking about, the definition of jank, the essence of jank is, there is some self-induced or just whatever creative roadside repair that you had to do because at the time, either you're in the middle of nowhere or you are just financially strapped because we're all young and silly. And so you were forced to do not the best repairs. And reflecting upon that episode that we were listening to, and we're telling these stories about our jank stories, and Jeff is telling stories about his Avalanche. And Jeff has a really nice truck now, and we all have like nice, good, well-driven cars. Incidentally, this was November 29th of 2017 when we recorded that episode, and we were all 10, 15 years from our jank then. It like whenever Chris starts talking about, the MG as he uncovers something and he's like, oh God, I can't believe I did that. And, but undoubtedly that was driven by it's 10:30 at night. There's not, it's starting to snow. I have to get home, make this work. I'm not going to do this well. But now that we are afforded the opportunity, we've gotten a bit away from the jankiness. Even 5 years ago, I'm not convinced that Mental would order the transmission pan gasket for this truck. He would just keep dumping fluid in it until it died.
Yes.
It's a $50 gasket. I don't even have to jack the truck up because it's friggin' huge. It's 21 bolts. I'm going to get in there and replace it. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't do it, I'm probably not going to fix the transmission. I'm going to order the specialty tool for the spark plugs because I'm not going to make myself angry when I inevitably get one of these stuck or break it or do something like that because there's a tool that can help me.
But also, you're not doing it on the side of the road, and you have other cars to be able to take yourself to the O'Reillys to be able to get said actual tool. Yes,
exactly. So
why buy it
if you've achieved a point where you don't have to do jank, like your rallies or something like that, don't do janky because you're just making future self lives so hard. But you're crappy. You're crappiest, jankiest. Well, crappy and janky, they're related, but they're not the same. Your jankiest car, Chrissy.
I'm struggling. I'm interested to see what my 2017 self was thinking. I'm thinking the Vanagon, but
you mentioned several Volkswagens and you talked about a Vanagon.
I'm pretty sure it's the Vanagon. I think that was one that we didn't even drive much. Don't know why we bought it. Probably had 25 other cars at the time. I'm feeling like the Vanagon. I'm sure there's a Mark II rabbit golf type thing that we had that was worse than others. I want to say it's a gray one. I think it was a gasket gray rabbit. I want to say that was like really bad, but I don't know. I can't.
Did you have modified suspension on it?
I mean, there's one that we had no suspension and we still drove it. So there's that. But that was when we killed it. So it was not meant to drive like that.
I made some notes because I went back and I listened to it while I was doing some work, had my headphones on today. And, so as we talked about, he was reassembling, and this is Jeffrey the Honda. Like this wasn't even Godzilla Honda. And one of your points about if you're going to, the episode is called The Art of Zen and the Art of the Janky Car. And, you said the car have to have heat, and it helps you live with it if you adjust the ride, and it's at least somewhat entertaining to drive. Jeff mentions that you just have to, you just have to be okay with stuff not working, and you have to have backup janks.
Yes. That's Jeff's philosophy for years. He just littered the world with janky cars. So whenever one broke, it was like, well, I got another one over there. Like,
and then some didn't work.
Yes.
Some...
and that was okay.
And Chris, one of the things you talked about, and this should make us a bit nostalgic, is you had fallen in love with janky Saabs. You had 4 Saab 9000s, and I don't think you had $1,000 in all of them combined.
Those are great cars. I thought they were wonderful.
Yeah. And you mentioned janky as a value proposition, and you subbed that is it janky like my truck is janky, or is it janky for what it is? And you pointed out at the time the AMG that you had bought for the 1 lap. For an AMG, janky. But that car went on for another 100 and something thousand miles to have a great time.
Oh,
And
I don't feel like that was very janky, but okay.
It was pretty nice.
it was janky
Well,
for
once
AMGs.
Mental got it.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And then also,
Yes.
I want to point out this was a time where we talked about $500 Miatas, like running, driving. Oh, you
we
you
had
get a
one of
$500
those.
Miata
Right.
all
So,
day
and I was
long.
kind of thinking of like if I had to pick the jankiest car, I was gonna pick that one. It had no interior. It had all kinds of. I mean, it had a new top. It was the cheap new top, so it didn't directly leak on your head. It definitely leaked
Well, when
on
we
the
got
sides.
it
So
definitely
it
leaked on
had
your
the
head.
worst. Yes, right. It had the worst top. But then we bought the cheap top with no rain rail, which we learned the hard way. Do not do that because you stuff yourself in the back of a Miata. So I'm gonna say like that might be the most janky car that we.
Is that the
we
one,
own.
Chris, you drove for a winter with no top?
Oh, it had a top.
No, it had a
It
top.
had no driver's door panel at all. So
I mean,
There was
This is the
one
one that
where
we-
Jeff's wife saw you at a gas station.
Yeah,
wearing
Oh,
a
I
suit
just had the
and
Oh,
top
no,
tie.
the
down.
top was down. No, it
The
had a
top
top.
down.
No, that's absolutely the one because that was the white one that we
Yeah,
drove for
and
instead of
I
a Barbie
daily
car.
drove that for a long time.
Mm.
Yeah,
Because
Allison and I took
as
that
you
on
did.
Babe Rally. So
Yep.
we but there's definitely times where we're sitting in a parking lot holding our cups up to the A pillar and just catching water and then opening the door and then bailing it out. So I
Yes.
feel like that was probably one of the I mean it never stranded us. We had one problem with the fan and that was it. So like
Yeah.
it was great. It was a fine car, but the interior, it was missing some of the things that I value in cars now. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah. It was all right though. I daily drove it for a year. It was great. Like I daily drove that Saab Turbo that I got for $600 for like 2 years
Yeah,
after
but that would like looked really nice.
That
Well,
was
we
the one you
painted it.
because it got 30 miles per gallon and would cruise
Yeah.
80 in comfort
Yeah.
with air
Yeah,
conditioning.
with
Yeah.
leather
Oh, God.
seats.
It's a great car.
Man, remember before 2020 when you could do that? Now we all sound like boomers. You could buy good crappy cars back in the day.
We're
Right, get off my lawn.
old.
Yeah. All right. So then what about we talked about jank as a value proposition and that making well-informed bad decisions. Say this is janky, but I know what I'm getting into and I can live with it. Okay.
Okay.
That's a choice, which is all right. We've now talked about our current level of jankiness compared to years past, but I think, and why do we put up with different? I think we have A, different priorities, and B, more money.
I completely agreed.
And that I'm
Yes.
tired of fixing crappy things and I can afford it and I'm just buying the nicer one now.
And I don't want to spend time sitting on the side of the road. Like I don't. Like I'm too old to do that. I just don't want to be on the side of the road and wait for somebody to save
Also,
me.
we've had those adventures. And once you've had an adventure, like you don't necessarily need to repeat it, but like I'm glad I did. Right. And I kind of relived this a bit when we went on the Lemons rally with Paul in the Corvette.
Right.
And it was, as I tried to make it not janky. I really did.
You
Yet
you
it continued.
put a lot of effort. You were battling GM mediocrity and you
Oh yeah.
and you
But it
still did a great
continued to
job.
be
An
janky.
old sitting car and
Right.
yes, yeah.
Despite even trying to drive it ahead of time, trying to do things, I still was battling problems. I mean, and things kept going wrong. Like when the clutch switch failed, like I'm like, okay, fine. And then I'm tearing it apart, just like, all right. But now I know more than I used to when I was a teenager, obviously. Like,
So
all right,
much.
fine. This isn't hard. I could just bypass this stupid switch and all right, keep going. But for the rest of the day, I was literally reaching under the dash with a wire, touching it between two terminals while trying to also start the car to get it to go because
super
I needed
jank.
it to run. Right.
Yes.
Jank. But that
Yes.
was
But
an
not
adventure.
for a lack of trying.
Yeah, that was an adventure though.
Right.
But aside from like, if I don't have to have it janky, that's also a lot easier for me to fix. Like the Porsche when we got it was a little janky. It was
Yes.
dirty. The wheel bearing was bad. There was a bunch of things that were iffy about it. Then the heater core leak, like it was janky. But all right, I have the time, skills, and capability to fix it right. And now
And
it's fine. It's a
when
nice car. It's not a perfect Porsche, but
No,
it's very nice.
It really is. I so love that car.
but we also bought it with asking the right questions and not just
Yeah.
like, ooh, cheap car, let's go do that. It was like from a guy that we've like, we didn't know him, but a person who
There was
has worked
vetting.
on these
You vetted
before.
them.
Right.
Yeah.
We a little bit. Yeah. So I mean, it's not just a total like, oh, let's like you did. Hey, I'm pulling this truck out of somebody's yard in Oklahoma and then I'm going to drive it home. Let's just go do that. Which,
All right, now I was pulling the truck out of a friend's yard, and he
oh,
told me,
you knew the
"Oh,
guy.
the good friend of mine,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely." And he told me
Okay.
everything that was wrong with that truck. He just didn't know about the gas gauge. And when I pulled it back in, I'm like, "Oh, by the way, also the gas gauge doesn't work." And he just kind of goes, "Yeah, that sounds right." And
Yeah.
I've actually already, I know, or at least I've got a 90% confidence that I know why the gas gauge doesn't work, and I know how to fix it.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I apologize. I didn't realize I missed the topic that
No,
you
but well, your point is still
knew the
valid.
person.
Like it wasn't just show up on there,
Right.
and it does reinforce your point about, ask the right questions, apply some common sense. I had 100, I knew exactly what I was getting into. And I had my fail plan. I had my, okay, yeah, at this point, it gets set on fire and I walk away.
And none
I-
our 2017 and beyond Jank selves did not have that as the vision. I don't think we were ever saying that we're just gonna bail and get an Uber and then go fly home. Like that was not
No,
usually
because
the
it was
answer.
that wasn't part of the ethos. The ethos was must soldier on and must continue.
This is a
Yes.
great car and I'm having
And
fun.
we'd usually put a lot of effort
Yay!
into it at that point, and it usually had all our stuff in it. And the more
I
stuff
mean,
that
for some of these things, yes.
yeah,
And some of them were yes, for babe rallies, for actual road trips, we had clothes, costumes, some tools,
Yep.
food,
I had 3
coolers.
pairs of underwear, 3 shirts. Yeah, this was, it
Well-
all fit in my briefcase. I was
Oh, for
I was
this trip.
prepared to walk
Yes,
away.
yes,
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
Yep.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I think younger selves got over the fun of the road trip more.
Well, it
than
was
I-
fun. It was fun. It was an adventure, and that was the point. You wanted an adventure.
And I would argue I still had an adventure. I had fun.
Good.
I was I was laughing at a lot of
What-
the silliness.
When you embark on a quest, and the journey and it's going to be unknown. You know there's going to be adversity. You know there's going to be things you don't expect. You know that it's not going to go smoothly. That is the definition of an adventure. So you go on your adventure.
Yes.
But we've gotten older and smarter enough to know ways to mitigate our adventure.
And have backup plans that are
So that when there is
Doable.
adversity, then it's entertaining adversity as opposed to real tragedy.
And
or-
my favorite phrase is, something's about to happen. I've seen this movie and I know how this ends. I'm not going to do that thing. We would be the people in the horror movie. Yeah, I'm not walking in that dark room, knowing that
The
there's
barn
somebody
full
out
of
here.
chainsaws?
Yeah,
No.
No,
Stay
not
out
doing that.
here.
Not at all.
I can't stop having flashbacks of like the trip with Connie and pushing the olds up the hill and the testing points on the side of the highway and figuring
in this
out which
episode,
points work.
Chrissy has Jank PTSD.
Right.
I'm like, and then when we tried to sleep, I was sleeping under a piece of cardboard because it was so cold. And I'm like, and when the fear died and we left it in the back of a hotel, and all of these things that you're listening to are real. This is not
Chris,
in
Chris, go
there.
downstairs and hug her right now. She's having a crisis. She just needs a friend right now.
Not. I'm thinking of all these things of like, we had a good time. We had a good time. I think maybe some of our trips, they were a little bit more extreme than other people had. And so
Oh yeah.
and so my memories of like, do you want to go on this road trip? I was like, I didn't even have to say it because I was like, let's just not do that again. when when we oh God, the memories are flooding in. Okay.
All those repressed memories are coming back.
When I was adding the truck onto the insurance and getting the movement permits out of here, and as I'm putting on the insurance, I'm like, oh, do I really want roadside assistance? And Vicky goes, "You're driving a crappy truck from Oklahoma. Yes, you're getting the roadside assistance." As a matter of fact, do that now so it takes effect before you leave.
It's true.
Mhm.
All right. Last thing, there's two more things I think. If you have a
Yes.
janky vehicle, what is the one thing you can do to mitigate the jankiness, or one of your top tips to make it less janky fairly easily? Chrissy.
This doesn't even count. A credit card.
Yeah. A good job.
AAA membership.
Money.
Yeah.
Oh,
Somebody work on your car. Okay.
So,
Anyway, that's not what you were asking. I apologize.
No.
Okay.
this is, and it's one thing, especially now, like, because all of our previous jank, like, the Mark 1 Jettas, the 944, your MGB, and I'm not trying to sound like the grumpy old person. In fact, just the opposite. We live in an absolutely marvelous age where there is a ton of information at our fingertips. While I was waiting in the airport, I am literally researching Achilles heels on these Ford 5.4s, and I knew most of them. And then friends were telling me about others. We are connected to people thousands of miles away that know things. And this goes back to when Chris walked me through the Honda project and said, "That's good. Keep that, throw that away, plug that into that." We have this marvelous capability of connecting with people and getting all of this information together.
Yeah.
So the point behind all of that is the one thing to mitigate your jankiness. And I would not have said this in 2017. In 2017, I would have said, just fix it and make it go. What I will say now is fix it right. And it's hilarious that I'm the one saying that. And I see Chris going, "Oh, I've seen some of the crap you do." And I screw it up, but my intention is usually to fix it right. I've got to get better about my research and my patience, which is something I'm legitimately working on. And there's just very few excuses with Amazon and O'Reilly's and Rock Auto and all of these things that we just didn't have access to. You can get the right parts, you can get the right tools, and you can kind of get them for cheap. AutoZone will loan you specialty tools. So if you have something to fix it properly.
Wow. Your
Really?
your 2017, I'm impressed.
Your 2017 self. What's that old man talking about?
Right. Oh, he's so old. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Wow.
There's no fun in that.
Yeah. Wow.
All right.
I really like your idea. I completely agree. Even to now, like when we were on our adventure buying the Porsche, we were talking about wheel bearings and our options, and we were talking, like we posted on social medias, and those people were like, "Oh, I'm not far from you if you need anything," right? Like the networks and the information that we had at our fingertips of what we could do when we're looking at junkyards that are locally to figure out if we could even find this wheel bearing. And fortunately, everything was fine by the time we got home. But things like that, you're absolutely right that we just have so much the ability to have the information of what can you do to fix it right or fix it now, and all of that it's absolutely true. That's not my answer.
The proliferation of harbor freights everywhere, so you have a place to get
and Northern
reasonably priced
Tool
tools.
and Ollie's
Right, yeah.
Tool Outlet, and yes, those are all there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give two examples I think are actually things you can do to help. One of them's free, one of them's not, and one of them you did mental is tires. Oftentimes, janky cars have the jankiest tires on, like 3 different brands, most of them you've never heard of. They're all different tread wears. Who knows how it's been aligned? They're going to be tragic. So
and
tires,
honestly, I've had blowouts.
Yeah,
it's scary. It really is.
Yeah. So that takes a big risk out of the equation, and it's not going to blow out. You're going to have a reasonable amount of traction, dry and wet, with a new tire, even a crappy one. And it takes a big bit of safety out of that. And then whatever your best tire you're taking off of it goes as the spare. Because the spare on a janky car often is bald and already used
Unless
and
your
terrible.
car does not have the capability to do so, then you have to
Yes.
get creative or
Yes.
to hold you said
Yeah.
spare tire.
And the other one is free, and that is clean your grounds. A lot of old janky cars have weird electrical problems, and a lot of it's relating to weird grounds. So
Because
take
some idiot fixed everything with clear speaker wire.
right. So just clean every ground you could
Why?
find,
I don't
like
need the-
including the main battery terminal, those big cables. Clean up all the grounds. It's free. It doesn't take you very long to do, and it'll
PTSD
solve a
is
whole bunch
still
of
there.
weird potential electrical issues.
It's
Well,
it's honestly it's a little satisfying.
We don't need these grounds. We don't need them. Cut them off.
Yep.
Says the Earl of Jankerton on one of our
Yep.
race cars. We don't need those grounds. Then
I-
we reinstalled all
I
of them.
remember- I remembered this as we were telling the story. You brought up the fail van from the Babe Rally, and our
Yes.
buddy Eric, not DJ 914, Mad Scientist Eric.
Yep.
And it came in on the flatbed, and he's sitting there. I don't think he slept for a couple of days. He was running purely on nicotine. And he takes a drag out of his cigarette and he goes, "Tell me what happened." And I walk through the stuff like that, and he kind of looks at the engine bay for a second, reaches in there and just yanks out a bunch of extraneous wire. Just physically pulls it out and says, "Try it now." And it starts. He takes another drag off his cigarette and he says, "Go get cleaned up. I'll have it running in about 30 minutes. And it was exactly that. It was decades of creative wiring solutions, terrible grounds. And he did go through and he made the electrics work so well that the engine finally let go the next day. That's
Yep.
excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, yours are really good.
Yeah.
I think I'm still going back to AAA.
Yeah,
as
yours
my
is realistic.
answer.
That's fine.
I'm just
They're all good
have a-
answers.
Have an exit strategy, have a
Yeah.
fail plan.
yeah.
And AAA, roadside assistance, a credit card.
Like knowing somebody in that state, like even when we were traveling, I'm like, okay, I think I can call people that won't be too far from here. That makes
Oh.
me feel even a little bit
Driving
better.
the Corvette to Massachusetts at the starting to run strange. I'm going through my head. All right, where do the people I know living around
Yeah.
here who would be sympathetic to this kind of plight? And I'm like, all right, I got a few. Do I have their numbers? Yes, I do. Okay.
And that's kind of
Or
why
I
we
know someone who
did
could get it. Yes.
one lap. We did in 2016, we did one lap. Or at least that was Chris's sale to me because it was in an area that we were in support of. Like we went to places that we went to Pitt and then Massachusetts, and we were in places that were like not that far from people that we know. And so that was a good sale. We fortunately didn't need to utilize them, but and then we could also go to the tracks to practice first before then. But so I'm gonna go back to like phone a friend and or AAA and hope they don't kill you. It's gonna be my answer.
Cool.
All
Yes,
right.
that's it. Well,
Is that it?
I had one more potential idea that I thought, mostly because Mental is going to have a good story for this, is the jankiest non-motor vehicle story. So the non-motorized. And I'll say I have two quick examples. One is the boat trailer we used to have for the boat that my dad bought in 1992 when we got the boat. It had
bad.
only ever been in salt water or within 100 feet of salt water its
So
entire,
bad.
how many years. That we had never ever taken the tires off, so they were
The
permanently
rust.
attached to the hubs.
Like
Yes, and then the
rust.
cross member at the back that held the boat up was
with
rusting,
ratchet
got worse
straps.
and worse and worse. Eventually, I ratchet strapped some 2x4s to it.
And
to
then every
hold it
once
up
in a while, I
for
would be
one
taking
more
the
winter.
trailer back, and they would bounce, and then it would drag behind me because it bounced off and then came apart. Yes, that's a great Jankerton
Those
story.
tires
Yeah.
were 25 years old, but like the
Yep.
ramp is a mile from the house, and you go
Yep.
20 miles an hour, like it's
One.
right
Good
there.
one.
That was super janky. The other one I had a 1972 Honda CT70 when I was a youth. I was probably 12, right? And I dug it out of my brother's basement, and my dad had bought it in the 70s.
This is a tiny
and
motorcycle, yes?
beat up. Yes, it's Jeff's little yellow one.
Yes.
Is
I
it?
just
That's
wanted
a
to,
Chinese.
some people
Yes, it's a
listening may
Chinese
not
knockoff of this. It's
My mom's
70
going to
cc,
say, what is that?
70
It's a, yeah,
cc
mini
little
bike.
Honda motorbike.
Mini
Right.
bike. Yeah.
And I got it running by putting a new carburetor on it and by kickstick, it did probably 10,000 times on the Kickstarter until it actually finally caught, right? And then it was run really high, whatever. It ran, but the worst part about it is it had clearly hit some stuff before. So the front of the frame where the fork was definitely was bent in a little bit. The fork definitely wasn't straight all the way. And the worst part is
Fine.
the handlebar had 2 bolts to the top of the triple tree. One of them had broken. My solution was a C-clamp. I C-clamped the other side of the handlebars to the triple tree. And I rode that thing all over the place with only 1 bolt on the handlebars and I'm waiting for that C-clip to fall off. And my mom had no idea that anything was weird, or I think she has no idea. So I really am. She's taken up to our place in New Hampshire, and I'm pounding around all the dirt roads in this thing with a C-clamp.
It's totally fine. You're not dead yet.
Not dead yet.
That's not why you have the plate in your head, so it's cool.
No, exactly.
Mine is a store-bought, fresh out of the box, little razor scooter that I decided to take around tracks. One of being the sinkhole at NCM, and I almost died because the little wheel on the front, by the time you go around and use it for like a half an hour, the little wheel on the front gets out of round and tries to kill you. That's going to be my answer.
Going down the sinkhole. The wheels start shaking.
You're committed now. You're committed
yeah.
now. You're
I
screwed.
didn't die, but I thought
you were
about
going
it.
I could see it. I could see
I
it from here.
know. And then Chris watched in horror of like, how is this going to end? Fortunately, I think I just bailed and probably rolled in some grass, but it was
you kind of bounced pretty well because fortunately you run.
Fall?
No, you just kind of like took these enormous steps.
Yeah, I just like kept running. Like I kind of like jumped off it and
hit the
kept
ground running and see what happens. And you did okay.
I like the time that I jumped off a moving trailer.
Right, where you didn't hit the ground
I
running and you
didn't
just
keep
stopped.
running.
The clang. Yeah.
Anyway.
You're going a lot faster on the scooter than the trailer, though.
Oh, all these memories. This is so hard tonight. This is so hard.
All right, Metzel, bring us home. Like, we know you've got something on this one.
Which trailer are you gonna pick?
Well,
or motorcycle, or
all the a
and
motorcycle. I thought you said
I'm gonna
non-vehicle.
throw you
well,
all
non-car. What is it?
non-car.
Oh,
I'm gonna
janky.
throw you all for a loop. So a couple of years ago, when I was, trying to vary my fitness routine, and I bought a $50 bicycle off a Facebook Marketplace.
Yes.
And the first day that I tried to ride it to work, I had to stop and reassemble the rear hub twice. I had to rebuild the front brake.
Oh, okay.
And but I what should have been about a 45-minute bicycle ride took me almost 2 hours, and I got to work and called Vicky. So I'm going to need you to come get me this afternoon. And my boss, my boss at the time felt so bad for me. He got me his old Trek bicycle so I could actually feel what a real bicycle is supposed to be like. So yes. And that bicycle, I still have it. You rode it at Button Willow. I brought it with me to Button Willow because it's
that was a
fine.
pretty tragic bike.
Exactly. It's fine for, 500 feet. It's terrible for 12 miles. And I have, it is sitting in the front of my garage waiting for me to take it down to the donation center and, ruin
So
somebody
else
else's
can
life
kill
with it.
themselves.
Exactly.
Super.
Well, I know it would stop moving forward. Like the chain would come off, the sprockets all fell off the rear
Fine.
wheel, all of this. Yeah.
As long
And
as you
I
didn't
had
keep
a
going.
multi-tool and had to like reassemble it. And I get to work and my hands are black with bicycle, chain
You're like,
grease and
"Screw
everything.
this,
That
I'm
one.
done."
And yeah, I'm also, I'm flooded with ideas. I had a janky house in Nebraska that was just awful. And, I couldn't afford any home repairs. There was a whole lot of very creative solutions involving unfreezing my pipes and all of that kind of stuff and insulating things. It was yeah, that
Okay.
was a lot of jank, but let's go with the bicycle.
That's a lot of jank. Okay.
Yeah.
This is great. Thank you for having a janky experience for us to talk and relive this experience of what we did in our previous lives when we are yelling at clouds and telling people to get off our front lawn.
Tell us
So,
about your janky journey.
oh my
Give us
God.
comments about the
I can't even wait.
voyage you have made through your janky life.
Wow. We're gonna get some really great stories.
Yeah. Every gearhead has some janky stories.
Some of our
Mhm.
friends, I think, still live them. And so
That's
we
true.
will probably hear about what's in people's garages these days.
Great. Do we have any safety topic this week? We do. That means it's time for just the tip. Tip. Tip.
Oh, mentals, I think you didn't hear at all because I think Zoom
Fair enough,
decided
yeah.
to take it out of there. So I'll be
Oh,
quick
well.
because we've made the story really long today. This safety topic of the week is a good one. So we're doing a couple different topics, but one of them that I enjoy and I think is really applicable to everyday life is line of fire. So making sure that whatever you are doing, it is not coming towards you. So the easy one is just like opening a box. If you're going to be opening in a box, you open the box away from you and not towards you. If you are not using your hand as it's to hold something and then scraping towards your hand, trying to get something off of there, and then the scraper goes in your hand and you need stitches. That's what happened in one of my OSHA recordables almost 2 years ago. So I think it's a good practice. It doesn't have to be a cutting agent either. It can be like this morning I was shaking something and fortunately I was shaking it I shook it away from myself and it exploded all in front of me and not onto me. So it doesn't always have to be something that's going to cut you or hurt you, but thinking about doing things away from yourself rather than towards yourself and not keeping your body, your actual body and your extremities as in the line of fire of something that could hurt you.
For example, when pulling up on a shift knob that needs to be pulled hard to get loose, don't have your face right over where you're doing this, or you're going to punch yourself in the face with a shift knob. Ask me how I know.
Did you ever
When
do
you
that?
are
Oh,
when
weird.
you are unbolting a steering wheel and you're beating on the back of it, leave the nut with just 2 turns so that it catches and doesn't hit you in the face. Ask me how I know.
Okay, good. So we have some really good examples here. I'm sure you have your own examples, but
The worst.
just
Punch yourself in the face.
Because then you got to sit there and go, oh,
Damn it.
stupid.
Yeah.
and then sometimes I walk away and just start laughing. Chris is like, "What happened?" You're like, "It's fine. My lips gonna be fat later, but it's fine. Just hit yourself in the face." It could be really bad though, so just think about what you're doing before. Most of these things are just gonna be bumps and bruises and a good story for somebody to laugh at you later. But it could be pretty bad, so think about it next time you're doing something.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. We don't know what we're doing next week, do we? No clue. We'll figure it out later. Hey, so thanks for downloading us. Hope you enjoyed this week's janky edition of Everyone Racers. Hope you're going to join us in the world of driving, racing, breaking down, and hitchhiking, because everyone can have a janky car, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's free, just like Mental's truck. Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. Even if you whatever, you just be sympathetic. Mental just drove this piece of shit truck halfway across the country. Give him a nice rating, okay? Show ideas, comments, thoughts, all kinds of ways you can do that. Everyone Racers at all the social media things, everyone.racers@gmail.com. Text Mental. He has junk. Yeah.
I
what?
got a great picture this week from one of our mechanic friends of what happens when you lower your Subaru and don't correct the camber. You get all 4 tires corded at the same time.
Even better. Great. They need that rule about getting new tires for your janky car. So anyway, text him 484-243-0455. You can share junk pictures. That's so cute. I guess that's it. Thanks again. Until next week. Just don't wire things with clear speaker wire, please. That's all. Thank you.